live? When will D Live be live? Oh, D Live. D Live is live. When will Twitch be live? Twitch is live. YouTube is live. When will YouTube be live? It's live. When will Facebook, the Book of the Face, be live? And finally, when will Foxhole? T Live is live. It's live. All right. We got 42 seconds left. A little harmonic there on that guitar run. Welcome to the 9dNation.
בראשית ברא אלוהים את השמיים ואת הארץ.
In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Thousands of years later, it was Wednesday at 11 p.m. Central. Get your passport ready and be prepared to declare to the customs agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. You're now crossing into the nation with no denomination. Welcome to the 9dNation. What is the 9dNation? It is the nation with no denomination. Let's see here. Let's do this like this. Anka Vanka in the house. Good to see you. All right. This is episode. What is dog? Dog, what are you doing? Dog. Wonderful dog, but get out the way. This is episode 33 of a Bible reading starting from Genesis 1, verse 1. Jambi Man, Duppy in the house. He says, gross. Anka Vanka says, Greenheart, frog, Greenheart. So this is Greenheart. What's the sign for frog? So our story so far, Genesis 1:1 to Genesis 11:2. Child, can there be slightly less clackety-clack? Hey. Can there be a little less clackety-clack sound? Thank you. Our story so far. On tonight's Bible reading. Ooh, we got Just Jim in the house with, let's play the cookie animation.
Here comes the...
Thank you for that. 111 gold pills, Just Jim. Apologize, no green screen, because I got work in the morning and it'll save me 20 minutes. And it means it'll eat up some of the screen real estate, annoyingly. I gotta cut some corners. The man's keeping me down. Know what I'm saying? Good to see you too, Just Jim. So our story so far has been, in my humble opinion, and in the last 32 weeks, you've seen us grow this. So go watch all those episodes, the first 30 minutes of them, to catch the story so far. Ahaya, which is how I like to pronounce Yahweh, reset the cosmos and says, no breeding with fallen angels, no murder, and no blood drinking. We come from either Shem, Japheth the Greek, or Ham, who sired the Philistines, the Canaanite slaves, and the half-breed Assyrian emperor Nimrod. I'm making a slight leap calling him a half-breed. It's the same Hebrew word for the men of renown when they introduced Nimrod. So now tonight we're going to read Genesis 10, 21 through 32. We're actually going to read through 11 too, actually. We're going to read all but right up to the Tower of Babel. 2. It's a lot of text, but we can get through it. Duppy, we can talk about Nimrod in the commentary after. Oh yeah, but we're going to talk a little. Let's see how much Nimrod. Well, we just covered Nimrod like last week or the week before, and this is everything leading right up to the Tower of Babel. By the way, it's not 100% absolutely provable just from the text that was accepted by whatever the council that Nimrod for sure built the tower, but clearly he did. I mean, it's so clear. So let me switch over to... Yeah, the actual tower will be next week. But we can talk about the tower tonight because we're leading up to it. 10:21. All right. Also to Shem, the father of all the children of Eber, and the older brother of Japheth, children were born. The sons of Shem were Elam and Assur and Arpachshad and Lud and Aram. The sons of Aram were Uz and Hul and Geter and Mash. Arpachshad became the father of Shelah, and Shelah became the father of Eber. 2 sons were born to Eber. The name of the one was Peleg, for in his days the earth was divided, and his brother's name was Joktan. Joktan became the father of all jokes. Just kidding. Joktan became the father of Almodad and Sheleph, and Hazarmapheth, and Jerah, and Hadaram, and Uzal, and Diklah, and Obal. Poor Diklah, like the cat that had the... And Obal, and Abimael, and Sheba, and Ophir, and Havilah, and Jobab. All these were the sons of Joktan. Now their settlement extended from Mesha as you go towards Sephar, the hill country of the east. These are the sons of Shem, according to their families, according to their languages, by their lands, according to their nations. Hi, Pythagi. Hey, Black Yoda. These are the families of the sons of Noah, according to their genealogies, by their nations. And out of these nations were separated on the earth after the flood. Now the whole earth used the same language and the same words. It came about as they journeyed east that they found a plain in the land of Shinar and settled there. And that's where we're going to stop. So we're going to grind through all that. Take about 25 minutes. Let me try to read this, perhaps in a Hebrew kind of sound. Oh, I didn't show you the first 2 sentences of verse 2. This right here. All right, now, let's try to get some Hebrew going on. Genesis 10, verse 21. How do I not show the stupid pages to the left? Why did that do that? I don't want that. Why on earth is that showing? How do I stop that? 2-page view. 2-page view. Why? That's never been there. Oh, because... cool. It went away. My wish was granted. All right. I'm going to make this attempt. Uleshim yulod gam hu avi kol b'nei aver achi yefet hagadol. B'nei shim elam ve'ashur ve'arpachshad ve'lud va'aram. Uvene aram uz vechul vegeter vamash. Vayarpachshad yalad et shalach veshalach yalad et ever. Ulever yulod shnei vanim shem ha'echad peleg ki vayamav niflega haaretz veshim achiv yaketan. Vayakatan yalad et almodad vuet shalef vuet chatzar mavet vuet yarach. Vuet hadoram vuet uzal vuet dikla vuet oval vuet avimael vuet sheva. Let's scroll down here. Vuet ufer vuet chavila vuet yovav kol ele b'nei yakatan. Vehi moshayam mimisha boacha sefara har hakedim. Elevenashim lemipishotam, lil shaunautam, ba'artsotam, legoyechem. Ele mishpechot b'nei Noach, letoldolam, begoyehem umele, nefredu hagoyim ba'aretz achar hamabul. And let's go to chapter 11, just for 2 verses. Can you tell I have a cold? You can't, right? Because I read it that way. By the way, I barely have one. Vehi kol haaretz safa achat udavarim achadim vehi benesayam mikerem veim tseu vika baaretz shanar vayishivu shom. Okay, enough of that. Now let's jump into the text. And let's see what's what. 10:21 Hebrew. To put this one all together, because he says, and to Shem were born sons, even to him the father of all the sons of Eber, the brother of Japheth the elder. Eberites descended from Japheth's older brother Shem, who had other kids also. So we can add to our story so far. We come from either Shem, such as the Eberites, Japheth, or Ham. Okay? All right. 22, 23, and 24, we're going to blitzkrieg right through. Sons of Shem, Elam, and Ashur, and Arphaxad, and Lud, and Aram. The sons of Aram, Uz, and Hul, and Geder, and Mash. And Arphaxad begat Shelah, and Shelah begat Eber. My kid looked right at me when I said blitzkrieg. He's like, blitzkrieg? Huh? Blitzkrieg got your attention, didn't it? He's a student of World War II. So why am I... Yeah, I just went through it fast, right? Blitzkrieg, meaning just blaze right through it, right? Now, why did I blitzkrieg through 22, 23, and 24? Because they don't really change the story so far as I sit and meditate on what we're collecting. Nothing wrong. It's great to have good genealogies. I'm scrubbing through it. I'm trying to keep the parts we want. I'm learning. I've been doing chapter 15 by day. And let me tell you, we're going to have fun when we get up to these next chapters. Anyway, verse 25. To Eber were born 2 sons. The name of one was Peleg, for in his days was divided the earth. And the name of his brother was Joktan. So there's one new word here, nephliga. It comes from palag. It means to split or divide. There's 4 usages in the Old Testament, or the Law and the Prophets. And it can mean cut a channel. So as you're cutting, imagine like trying to cut through a piece of wood. Study Light says it can mean split, river, and division. PLG, the 3 words. The land is divided by rivers that marks out boundaries or sections. Wiki says this is usually taken to refer to a patriarchal division. So I just wanted to point that out. No real change to our story so far. 26, 7, 8, and 9. Gonna jam right through. Joktan begat Almadad and Shelef and Hazarmaveth and Jerah. Tuppy, I'm not just screaming through these. Just as I studied, I'm like, I don't know that we need much more than just to read this once through. But we're putting it on print just in case, Hadaram and Uzal and Dikla. Like declaw your cat. Obal and Abimael and Sheba. I know I did that joke twice. Ophir and Havilah, Jobab. These were the sons of Joktan. Their dwelling place was Mesha as you go towards Sephar, the mountain of the east. There's one new word here. Moshevam comes from Moshab. It's a seat, an assembly, or a dwelling place. Or dwelling or dwellers. There's 44 usages of this word token in the Law and Prophets. It's mostly going to mean a dwelling or a seat. It's like where you live, but it's a multiplicity, not like just a house. So more like a town, or maybe as big as a city-state. But it's not like a whole county or something like that. So Ophir, a Sevaite, I called him, went to the eastern mountain. You're going to find out this is after Babel that Ophir goes there, I think. So he's further shoved east by some diasporic events, but we'll come back to that. So our story so far, we got a cookie from Commander. Let's play that cookie. Cookie animation. Thank you for that cookie.
Here comes Cookie.
There went Cookie. So our story so far. Ahia reset the cosmos and says no breeding with fallen angels, no murder, and no blood drinking. We come from either Shem, such as the Eberites, including Ophir, who went to the east mountain, Japheth the Greek, or Ham, who sired the Philistines, the Canaanite slaves, the half-breed Assyrian emperor Nimrod. I'm going to shrink it down to say we come from either Shem, like Ophir to the east, Japheth, or Ham. All right. Now, something happened in the chat. Something wonderful. We got another cookie. Cookie from Commander. It's a Commander cookie. It's really a fritter. This is a fritter.
Here comes Cookie.
Here comes Fritter. Thank you for that, Fritter. Commander. We're going to jam through 31 and 32 real fast. These were the sons of Shem, according to their families, according to their languages, in their lands, according to their nations. We saw that in verse 20. And I don't know if you remember what we remarked on that. I say we, it was just me, right? Remarked on that, like, what is a nation? Common descendant? Or at least an assimilation. Common language, common land, says it right there. It's common sense, right? But common. These were the families of the sons of Noah according to their generations in their nations, and from these were divided the nations on the earth after the flood. So we're in the table of the nations. Let's read verse 1 and 2 of chapter 11. Because it's only 11:17, and I knew we would get through that pretty fast. And then we will start our panel. Vehikol haaretz sefa echat udevarim achadim, and had all the earth language one, and one speech one. Isn't that weird? The text doesn't say the people of earth used one language. It says earth used one language. Is that poetic or more than poetic? Is there an emergent phenomenon of Gaia here? Why so often does the Bible simplify cosmos to mean the people of the cosmos? Is there something about consciousness is required for that final layer of reality to come to being? Quantum mechanics would have you say that. I think that's even in the chapter 2 of the Garden of Genesis, the Garden of Eden, like Adam named the animals. That was important. He had to confirm, yes, that's a giraffe. That's a giraffe. You don't name them just once. Humans always say, that rock is very rocky. That rock is very kind of not rocky. It's kind of soggy. That tree is very stumpy. You know, we're always putting things in sets and talking about the exceptions. I think the observer is required. 2 new words in verse 1 here. Safa, which is lip, speech, or edge. There's 175 usages of this word token in the Law and Prophets or the Old Testament. It's like the edge of consonants. So you divide the breath of the vocal cords with the plosives, the T's, the P's, the chas. Also, udevarim comes from davar, that's speech or word. There's 1,441 usages in the Old Testament. Mostly means word. Sometimes a chronicle or a matter, like a recorded thing, like a thing you noted down. Let me check the chat. It's getting a little holy tongue, Anka says. 2 Rivers is asking some pretty personal questions, I think. But you keep at it. We're getting into the kinds of fritters people do and don't like. And we're finding out. Apple. All right. Our story so far. Blah, 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 blah. Nimrod, originally, everyone had exact same language. So this story, read linearly, starts to talk about the separation by language, but reminds us that it came from one language before it tells the Babel story. Some of this is a little out of order, as Pythagoras likes to talk about. Let me now read one more verse, and then we'll switch to part 2. The live. Well, this part's live too, but the more lively part of the show. Vehi benesayam mikedem vayim seyu. It turned out, as they journeyed east, they found a what? Vika, a valley or a plain. So that's a pretty big valley, right? There's 20 usages of this word in the Old Testament. Half the time it means plain, half the time it means valley. So I'm thinking like a large plain surrounded by like maybe a range of mountains or something. Shinar, vayeshevu shom. So in Shinar, and they settled down there. So to put it all together and to wrap up this first part of the show. Why is it so short, G. Ross? Usually you go 30 minutes. Well, because the next verse starts the Tower of Babel. We're right on the cusp. So it'll be a perfect launching off point for next week. So our story so far. Ahia reset the cosmos and says, no breeding with fallen angels, no murder, and no blood drinking. We come from either Shem, like Ophir to the east, including Shinar, Japheth the Greek, or Ham, who sired the Philistines, the Canaanite slaves, and the half-breed Assyrian emperor Nimrod. Originally, everyone had the exact same language. And that'll be an end to that. Let's check the chat. Shinar, Texas. 2 Rivers, I've been thinking maybe that town was named after Shinar. It actually comes from The beer comes from the Spetzel Brewery, which is in a smaller town outside of Shiner, I think. Spetzel. It's a great beer. Ankavanka, have you had Shiner beer? That's a fantastic beer. Shiner Bock? It's technically not a Bock. It's brewed year round. It's a little Ham Shim Yafet. Correct. Just reading the chat. All right, a couple things I gotta do. I gotta can the music. I gotta get the jitsi. By the way, figured out how not to make the video crash. By video. Okay. Allow. Join. No Chrome extension. No. All right, let's put this in the chat. All right. Let's check the Facebook chat. I've been neglecting you. Oh, Facebook. Okay. As I suspected. Absolutely no chat there, but that's okay. All right. Black Yoda, the link is in the chat. Hey, Revenjo Deutsche. Kitty Trooper Days on this farm summers. Do you guys see my awesome Christmas Nakatomi Plaza shirt? Pythagi, greetings. Black Yoda, greetings. Greetings, humans.
I don't know yet.
Hello?
I'm here.
Cool. It's good to see you.
Are you able to hear the TV in the background?
Tiniest little tiny bit. It's totally fine, in my opinion.
All right. Wait,
You watching Barney Miller?
At least leave it up to where you can hear it.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go outside in a second.
Bernie, crank it.
She's watching the Western and it's close to the ending.
Oh, John Wayne kills him. Just saying.
Now it's Kirk Douglas in this one.
Ooh, nice.
Oh, how was your holiday?
It was good. It was good, thanks. We had good time. 3 days of relaxing. How about you?
Pretty much the same. Good food, good eats. I don't typically celebrate it.
Right.
I respect people that do. So, I just don't get all enthused like I did when I was a kid.
So I showed Angular a Rankin Bass stop motion cartoon that's a little bit less popular these days. It's sort of the origin story of evil Satan Claus, and it's totally pagan. It's hilarious.
Send it to me. I wouldn't mind checking that out.
Yeah. It's got the Winter Warlock, and it shows the deer eating magic corn so they can fly. It's hilarious.
That's funny. I just saw something the other day that was talking about Coca-Cola. They did something where they took one of the stories of Saint Nick rebranded it and used the whole red and white to go with their logo and all that stuff. And somehow that related to with that advertisement and whatnot related to the crossover, but I only went as far as the beginning of that rabbit hole. Cause and effect of advertisement.
Right.
You have any plans for the new year?
Probably work my butt off for the next 2 days and then take 3 more days off, and then grind.
Right. I was reading about Shem. So I'm not distracted. Let me take a step outside.
Cool.
I can smoke a little bit of a cigarette. So I don't know much about Shem as far as his personal story. I do know Shem is like the great something grandfather to Abraham. Out of the other sons of Noah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I'm not clear, like when it comes to the lost tribes and stuff like that, I'm not clear on which ones were lost and how they tied back into like Shem and Abraham.
Right.
That's what I was trying to get out of looking up Shem.
I think you're right on target to watch for that. And I've been kind of wanting to keep my eye on that as we go through this. So maybe let me take a crack at it, and that might be a good topic to bring in Pithagi and Duppy, because I think they'd be both into that.
I thought they were already here.
Yeah, they're here. They're just being quiet.
Oh. If you look Shem up on Wikipedia and scroll down about halfway or so, maybe a little more,
Yeah.
it shows his descendants, family tree style, but just his side mostly. Pretty much up to Abraham, if I remember right.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I see this. Yeah. Eber, Peleg, Ru, Serug, Nahor, Terah, Abram, or Abraham, you're right. And then Isaac, Jacob, the Israelites, Haran, and Lot.
Am I mistaken, or does the Bible not really talk about Abraham's brothers and stuff?
Not much, but you'll find out that his wife is his half sister or something, and she may come from the Nahor line, I think, if I remember right.
You're talking about Sarah or the
Yeah,
or
Sarah.
the other two?
No, Sarah.
Why can't I think of her name? The other two,
Hagar.
the maid. Yes, that one.
Yeah. So
Just
Go ahead.
just about 15 years ago, I was trying to understand what the beef is in the Middle East. Why are the Muslims so upset with Israel and all that nonsense? Just to find out, it's the beef between Sarah's son and Hagar's son.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, y'all still fighting over this?
They're gonna keep at it. So
It gets weirder too there, Yoda, because Ishmael he fathers 12 tribes of his own.
All right. Ishmael was the damn, now I gotta remember. I haven't thought about sometimes I get rusty on things I haven't thought about in a long time. Isaac was Sarah's son, right?
yes,
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So back then, God was pretty clear about being born out of wedlock. So that alone makes me think Isaac is the legitimate one. And Ishmael, he pretty much founded all the other cities in the Middle East. And it tells you in the Bible that it's kind of going to go that way. Or is it too much rust on my cogs?
No, that's what it says. And also, they keep marrying in. Like, so when Jacob and Esau have their kind of thing, Esau marries into the Edomite line. And it just keeps happening over and over again. Duppy, does that sound familiar to you?
Sort of, but I only caught the last part of that because I was making coffee.
Well, there's a strengthening of the like the Ishmael line. They keep marrying into like the Canaanite or the Phoenician. You know, they more often go into the bloodlines that they weren't supposed to. And it just reminds me of what we keep seeing in your spreadsheets over and over again.
Oh, yeah. And, you know, if you remember a couple of shows ago, I was showing you that I was starting to work on the biblical family tree. And I said, hey, if you want to take a crack at this, that'd be awesome. Might show up there.
Wait, elaborate on that last part. You're going to try to do whose family tree?
The biblical family tree, you know, all the patriarchs and the kings and whatnot. I've got a possible entry point I've got one very likely entry point from Persia and another one from another two maybe from the Assyrians before that. And that's basically some women. Well, the Assyrian one, it's two women that the internet has tried to scrub by placing them in Czechoslovakia or something. And it looks like they married some kings from the Neo-Assyrian Empire. And then the other one is one of the last exilarchs' wife may have been the father of Darius, the king of the Persians.
Right.
Pretty crazy story, but
I'm not familiar with who Darius is. I don't even know if I've ever heard of that name.
Well, it's sometimes pronounced Darius. King Darius III was the big Persian king that Alexander the Great defeated. You've probably heard of him. But
wait, I thought that was Xerxes. Oh wait. Xerxes was just like one of the bosses.
Well, no, Xerxes was one of the Persian kings in between Darius III and Darius I. Darius I is the one I'm talking about.
Was Darius's Egyptian name Houghton the Blutin fish?
What?
Sorry, I'm making a Hootie and the Blowfish Darius Rucker joke. I'll be quiet.
Ooh, that was out there.
Yeah.
I get it though.
Sorry.
Hey, excuse me real quick. He said coffee and now I'm jonesing for a cup. I was up all night last night. So give me a minute. I'll be right back.
Well, let me bring in P. Thaggy during that because coming up in the next few chapters, and this is a little off base, but when we get to Abraham and his 318 Battle of the Kings, the 5 kings coming down, or maybe it's 4, from the north and the east, they are clearing out Rephaim, which could be giants. I know it's getting ahead of ourselves a little bit, but I just thought of that, so I thought I'd throw it out there.
You have me down as the giant guy.
Well, you've opened my eyes,
That's
brother.
fine. That's fine, man. That's cool.
You've opened
but
my
you
eyes.
You are getting ahead of yourself. So
I am.
My read on tonight's chapter verse was the same as yours. That you're seeing as they go through the genealogy, they're playing around with time.
Yep.
Because we know that the world had one language before the next chapter, which is the Tower of Babel. So the world was purported to have one language, but here we see in verse 4, Javan's descendants eventually had their own language.
Mm-hmm.
And then in verse 20, Ham's descendants eventually had their own language.
Right.
And in verse 31, Shem's descendants eventually had their own language. So I think when they talk about Peleg,
Yep.
whose name translates to like divided, or you said what did you call it? A rift?
Yeah, like a channel, like
Yeah,
a groove.
a groove or a rift,
Yep.
or a fallow or something,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they're saying that because the earth was divided during his lifetime, maybe that's a hint that everyone forenamed were prior to Babel,
Right.
the tower, and those after named were after Babel, kind of thing. Just
Nice.
Quick questions. How many generations between Noah and the Tower of Babel? It's only like 2 or 3, right?
it's not many. It's really not many because of what? It was Cush. It was a son and then a grandson, and then Nimrod is a great grandson.
Okay.
So it's what, 3 generations. However, G-Rod said earlier that we don't know for sure that Nimrod was the instigator and like prime motivator of the Tower of Babel, but it does seem like there could be no other.
Right.
Also, I wanted to touch on last week, which we didn't get to it. The descendants of Ham, back to verse 7, Cush's descendants, or no, sorry, 6. Ham's descendants included Cush, Egypt, Put, Canaan. And so we're to believe that these are patriarchs, that the lands that they inhabited were named, after the patriarch, like an eponym or something. And then you'll see it come up throughout the Bible. The land of Cush is more than once mentioned. So we wonder where that is. And when I was growing up, it was always understood to be somewhere near Ethiopia.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I heard more Bible scholars, and after the advent of the internet and more YouTube researchers, people were sort of confirming that. They were saying, yeah, the land of Cush is a reference to like deep into Africa.
But
so
there was also a city in Sumeria called Kish.
Right, Kish. Yeah.
Yep.
But I think this one's different because there's one reference. I don't know where I found it. It was like either a concordance, or it was some concordance or other. Someone else had the same question hundreds of years ago. Someone else had the same question, and they're like, "Wait, if Nimrod is the son of Cush, how did he come all the way up to like where Assyria is now remembered to be? Why would he? How could you go from like Ethiopia all the way up to towns like Nineveh in the foothills of the Caucasus?" And at least one scholar said, well, it's clear that he departed from his land of Cush and invaded that territory. So I wonder if that was on anyone else's mind.
That's been on my mind in the
Yeah,
past.
it seems like either we don't know where Cush is, or this was definitely an invasion.
Well, this ties into, remember, G. Ross, when I've raised a question with you a couple of times, where was Ur of the Chaldees? Where did Abraham come from? And I pointed out that there was an ancient city called Urkesh, very close to Haran.
Right.
And so, were they already in that area to begin with, as opposed to having traveled there? And if you throw that family tree back up that you just had,
yeah,
G. Ross.
Yep.
Look who Abraham's brother was named.
Right, Haran.
Yep.
So he comes out of Haran. That's where Terah dies. And, could Ur-Chaldee, that phase, be northeast instead of southeast? And you and I talked about, I forgot what show it was on, or it might have been private. It may not matter that much. It doesn't change much because he then does all of his action in the Levant and like Negev and then Mitzrayim,
Right.
or Israel and Egypt for today's names. So once he leaves Haran, he kind of goes southwest for his adventures.
I agree with you that the actions that are most worth discussing happen after that. However, I've run across Haran and that area so many times in various different time periods as being significant. And that includes Göbekli Tepe is right near there, really close. That I can't help but have this thought in the back of my head that area is far more significant than we think.
Right. Well, you're going to end up with sort of what becomes the Alexander and the Greek type of stuff is going to be northwest of Haran. If Haran is like a focal point, you got three spokes that come off. To the east is going to kind of it's going to stay kind of pagan, I think, and it'd be a place where you can keep getting pagan refresher courses. To the southwest is going to be the Promised Land, but then further southwest is Uber civilization.
Yeah,
and I have two things. Remind me which direction, because I was looking at this. Something popped up that I was looking at earlier, and I forgot to go back to it. But the three wise men, all right, they were supposed to be going east following a star. But isn't where they were at already east of where they were trying to get to?
Yeah, I think they were from the east, right?
Correct.
But how are they going east following a star, though?
No, I think they're going west.
Yeah, they came from the east.
Can you pull up a map of that general area and pull up where they actually came from?
They're probably coming from Persia, right?
Nobody really knows where they came from, but most people would think they came from Persia because the Magi were known to be Persian priests.
They knew from that stuff.
Well, I found the Bible verse. It's Matthew chapter 2. Wise men arrived in Jerusalem from the east and asked, "Where is the one who was born King of the Jews?" Arrived from the east.
Right.
Okay. It could be that
probably came from Persia.
It could be that what I was looking at was completely wrong. I just forgot to go back over it.
Yeah, they saw his star and then came from the east.
No, hold on. Yeah. I found it again. Verse 9. Later, verse 9. After listening to the king, they set out, and the star they had seen in the east went ahead of them until it came and stopped over a place where the child was.
Yeah, that's weird.
So they're from the east, and they saw it in the east.
Right.
So Yoda's onto something. Something's not adding up.
Right.
Why were they west? Why were they west of their homeland?
or was the star over China or something?
Well, the star was moving, right?
Or were they returning to the east on some other mission, some other business?
I've always had it in my head since I was really young that the star that they were following was actually moving and leading their direction. That could have been wrong too.
If it was a conjunction of Saturn and Jupiter, it could have been moving, but not fast enough to realize.
Right.
Well, that takes the North Star out of the question.
But every day, the conjunction might have moved a few degrees, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if they're walking, but one of the things that I had picked up, and I don't remember who told me this, but it makes sense that there's some indications that the Magi have knowledge that would be from, they knew stuff about the Jewish people because they had read texts left behind by Daniel in Babylon. Possibly.
Yeah, that seems possible.
Yeah.
I could see that.
And I've actually stumbled across this a number of times that, everybody just assumes that when Cyrus said, okay, you guys can all go back to Israel, that all of them left. But I don't think that's the case at all. In fact, I've heard some people saying that, maybe the elites and a few others went to Israel, but many liked Babylon and stayed behind.
Right.
How many of those people do you think went deeper into Africa?
At what point in time are you talking about?
Like back then?
At the end of the exile in Babylon?
Yeah.
No idea. I haven't run across anything that says that anybody went to Africa. Maybe some could have, but I've never seen anything about that.
Have you ever seen anything about and I know this is going a little, it's not off topic, and I haven't done enough rabbit holing on this one, but have you ever heard about both Americas, North and South, being like the original, and then them redoing history to make it seem like everything happened over there?
Oh, that's a Mormon.
Yeah, that's
theory.
what I was gonna say. The
No,
Mormon.
I didn't get that from Mormon. I got that from something else. I didn't even know that was related to Mormons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the Mormons think that one or two of the tribes came to the New World back when they were exiled. But I think they're the only ones that think that.
Yeah. They also think that certain tribes and locations named in the Bible, they're talking about North America.
Right.
There's an area out here in Arizona near the Grand Canyon where all the landmarks have Egyptian names. And that's kind of odd for like
Yeah.
Billy the Kid to be naming stuff, Egyptian. And I'm not saying Billy the Kid was in Arizona. I know that was a New Mexico thing, but you get my drift, right?
Yeah. John Cowboy Hat was busy going, we're going to call this Mitzrayim.
And 90% of the Grand Canyon you cannot even go to. And there's places where they claim to have Egyptian artifacts.
Huh.
Well, if they did, I'm sure they're all been stolen away.
So,
hey, G. Ross, we got an uppity frog in the chat.
Oh,
Can
I know.
you give a timeout?
What's going on? Hold
No.
on.
So Anka Vanka is pointing out that the star might have been a UFO, maybe. I'm just saying.
I was like, what the hell?
Have you guys ever heard a song from Blue Oyster Cult called E.T.? Blue Oyster Cult.
Yes,
Called
E.T.I.
E.T.I. It's a Christmas song.
It's the next song after Don't Fear the Reaper on that album.
Yeah. It's a fantastic song about the three wise
It's a good
men.
one.
Yeah. I might play it at the end of the show if I remember.
Yeah, I never heard it. Or at least I don't think I have. Oh, I was thinking about coffee when I was making it.
Oh, that reminds me. I'm going to go get mine real quick.
Right
Did I ever tell you about Bernie's allergy?
I don't recall. I don't think so.
So she's allergic to arugula, right?
Okay.
And she found out the hard way. One of our favorite restaurants has this jalapeno dip. And they also make a salad with that same dip, right? But the salad has arugula. And she broke out with hives and whatnot.
Wow.
Now, this part is the reason why I mentioned that before the whole coffee thing. When I was working at Honeywell, I was drinking way too much coffee. Well, not that I was drinking too much. If I went to the cafeteria, their coffee was way too strong for me. And it give me like, not anxiety, but it would make me super anxious and just, And so I was trying to find substitutes. And I went online, and dandelion root was supposed to be a good substitute with like no caffeine, right?
Okay.
So I ordered some off of Amazon, and they sent me like 30 boxes of this stuff. And that was a mistake, but dude, I still have a ton of dandelion root tea boxes and each box has like 50, 60 packets or something like that.
Dang.
I know, right? So I'm telling my roommate, she's a hardcore black coffee drinker. I was like, hey, help me drink this dandelion root tea before, it's not as fresh anymore.
Right.
So she drinks it one morning with me. She had about, 4 cups. I felt so bad for her. Oh my God. So the next morning, she drinks about 4 or 5 cups. The third morning, she wakes up. I'm already up. She looked like a leopard.
Oh, poor
Turns out,
Bernie.
dandelion root is very similar to arugula.
Dang.
No, I didn't say leper. I said leopard.
Right.
With the spots. You know what I mean?
Right.
Oh my God, I felt so bad for her because not only did she have the spots, they itched.
Oh, poor Bernie.
So I got stuck with all of these boxes. Dude, I was taking them to work. Dude, I couldn't give enough of that stuff away. I still got mad boxes.
Does that stuff taste very good?
I wouldn't say it tastes just like coffee, but a lot of times when you change your palate to different things, you adapt. Like a lot of people don't like diet soda, but if you keep drinking it, you get used to that aftertaste. You know what I mean? Similar thing. I would give it a 50-50 on whether or not you would like it as a crossover. Health-wise, there's a lot of benefits to drinking dandelion root tea. And if you take all of those benefits into account, it'll push you over that 50% mark as to whether or not you will like it, because you might appreciate it for what it is,
Cool. I'm going to have a bumper crop in a couple of months.
Yeah, dude, you can eat everything off the dandelion.
I know. You might not be old enough to remember this, but you remember Yule Gibbons?
The name sounds familiar.
He was like back in the 70s. He was famous for a little while because he was like he was kind of preaching all the crazy ass things in the natural world that you could eat. And he did a bunch of grape nuts commercials for a few years. And I remember one of his commercials, he was talking about eating dandelions.
Yeah, dude, they try to demonize a lot of things that are beneficial for us. And even churches today, they don't really talk about Deuteronomy and Leviticus and what God said was beneficial for us to eat that's not going to poison the body. All your bottom feeders, whether it be fish or land animals, it tells us in the Bible not to eat certain things, but then they want to lie to us about certain plants that have medicinal benefits. Dandelion is one of the fastest growing plants that we could possibly have.
Tell me about it.
I mean,
if you have a lawn, you should know.
Right.
If we went to an apocalyptic situation, and I actually made jokes about this after we found out that she was allergic to the dandelion root tea. I was like, Bernie, it's going to suck to be you if we go apocalyptic. Because I'm going to be growing a shitload of dandelions. I'm going to be having salads and teas. And I was like, I don't know what you're going to do. We're going to have to stack up on Benadryl before,
Right. Or learn how to make a natural Benadryl, whatever the equivalent would be. Pythagi, you pointed out Shemites and sort of the playing with the timetable. Was there any other points? It was a pretty simple text today.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
I just wanted it to I just thought it was a useful example, and you had mentioned it, that the book, at least for the book of Genesis, we can agree that it does kind of like bend time. It's going to shift back and forth. Just because something happens in the same chapter or 3 verses later doesn't mean that it happens sequentially.
Right. Agreed.
Except for the earth being created part had to come first, right?
Let's talk about Ex Nihilo for a second.
Okay, but
beautiful.
I'll give you an example.
Yeah, all it says is in the beginning. It doesn't say in the beginning of what. It says Bereshit Berei Elohim et Hashamayim v'et haaretz. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And the creating is very much like a seamstress cutting or making a decision. What pattern will it take?
I would have to go back to that argument where time, space, and matter has to happen at the same time.
Yeah. No, it's strong. It's strong, but I don't know that the text itself proves ex nihilo creation myself.
Well, like that one guy.
We touched on this last week. We were talking about, Duffy mentioned as far as like his credo, he doesn't see the Bible perfectly lining up with geological history or architectural discovery. And this would be another example if they talk about Peleg being the time when the quote earth was divided.
Right.
Are we talking about linguistically, or are we saying Pangea is breaking apart? Who knows what that is in reference to?
You notice it said the earth had one language. It didn't say the earth's people. It said the earth, which is
I interpret that divided as applying to people and cultures rather than the earth.
Right, but right.
All I'm saying is that it's unclear when you're looking for those connectos between geology, history, archaeology, and Bible.
Now I have to interject.
Yes.
I have to interject. I don't know. I know G. Ross's Mandela effect. Either two of you Mandela affected?
Yeah, all the time.
So one day my son was yellow. At one point it changed. I'm not sure when it changed, but when I noticed it, it was white. That's just one example of Mandela effect, right?
Wait, your son turned yellow? Did he just have to pee really bad?
Hey, Norm.
Well, he's high yellow, but that's not the son I'm talking about.
Oh, the sun up in the sky. Oh,
right.
Okay, I get you. Sorry. I thought you said my son.
He means his Mandela son.
Gotcha.
Right.
Yeah.
So, and the reason why I bring that up, it's very relevant because the same way God divided the people and the languages could have been similar to how we changed the Mandela effect for us. Maybe they didn't even realize they were speaking a different language. Maybe they didn't even realize they were divided. From their point of view, their reality would have just changed. Do you understand my point?
Yeah. They were just sitting there and then couldn't understand each other.
Well, I think the ones that probably did understand each other were separated, or at least that's what makes sense to me.
Yeah, in groups.
It would be too obvious if one day you had a friend that you could talk to and then the next day you couldn't. You would know something happened. It's not like they would have the internet so they could Google it.
That just means Trump happened.
Well, I feel like that sometimes today, where one day I had a friend I could talk to, and
yeah, good point.
Black Yoda, I want to apologize for the last time we talked. If I offended you or anything, but
I don't take stuff like that personal.
All right, because we were trying to talk. Yeah, you were trying to talk about something I didn't want to talk about, and but
no, there's water under the bridge, brother.
All right, cool.
As you, Ross,
I love you, man.
I know. Like, can I hold grudges? Yeah, just like anybody.
Hi, Kitty.
Do I like to?
Hi, Kitty.
Do I like to? No. That's just for an empath. That just weighs too much. It weighs too much to carry. I like my alone time so I can recharge, and you can't really recharge when you're holding on to something silly like that.
Do you remember the Star Trek episode Empath?
Elaborate. I've seen.
Okay, so they were on a planet and there was a mime, and Dr. McCoy. It was called The Empath.
Third season, terrible episode. Love it a lot.
It wasn't a very good episode.
It had the buttheads in it.
I thought the buttheads were the menagerie one.
Yeah, they show up again or something very similar. They have big bulging veins in their giant throbbing heads.
Were those the blue people?
They were kind of pale with blue robes, I think.
I remember some big-headed blue people. I mean, dude, it looks like their brain was about to bust out the skin.
That's them.
That was in the first season, I believe.
But didn't the Empath have...
I believe it was... empath was a mime. She was a mime.
But I think it had big brain heads too.
I had a lady friend that
it could.
I had a lady friend that had a really big forehead, and I would always text her pictures of those big-headed blue people.
That's not very nice.
We call that a five head.
Oh man.
You know, in some friendship circles that could be affectionate, because actually no, that's an affectionate thing for some. I don't know, when we were kids, we would if somebody had a big forehead and we call him a Klingon.
I did that to her too.
That was affectionate. That was okay. You know, like when you call your friends fags because they're being sappy. They're being sappy, and they're like, "Oh, you fag," but that's not like an insult. That's like an affectionate thing.
Right. No, dude, I used to tease her. Remember the two Klingon chicks that used to try to hook up with Worf? Dude, I used to send her pictures of those two chicks with the big foreheads. Off topic. No, I don't remember that episode.
Next year will be
What happened?
Sorry, my Kitty has a friend over, and her friend.
No, I don't remember those people.
What? You don't remember my girlfriend Kitty and her
No. The picture that G. Ross is showing.
Oh yeah. That is from the empath, and the one in the foreground is the empath. He looks kind of like who is that? Downtown.
That's where we wanna go down.
Who sung that? Patty Clark? Or yeah, she looked kind of like Patty Clark.
Petula Clark.
Petula Clark, yeah. Thank you for. Or what's her name? Murder She Wrote when she was very young.
Oh, she does look like Petula Clark.
Well, it's just the hairdo, but she actually does look like kind of like Angela. What was her name? Lansbury when she was very young. That could be actually Angela Lansbury. Actually,
you guys know that Angela Lansbury played the Bride of Frankenstein in that old movie when she was young.
That was her?
Yep.
The black and white one?
Yep.
I did not know that.
She also played Sweeney Todd, or not Sweeney Todd, but Mrs. Lovett and Sweeney Todd.
Two Rivers points out that the one standing behind the empath was Klaus Schwab.
Yeah, could be. He's got the right kind of outfit too.
For me, the empath thing, it's not like I can control it. It just happens when it happens. And then, like, when I'm around a group of people, my throat will start to itch because it's just too much. It's too much, right? And I'll get that tickle in my throat, and it makes me want to cough and get away from the crowd, right? Or I can meet like a complete stranger, and I just know if they're good or bad. You know, the eyes, just the voice, you know? The warnings that I get about things, it'll just happen out of the blue. It'll be mixed with a thought and an emotion at the same time. It's kind of hard to explain. And it won't be like the warning happens instantly. It might take a week or two, a month, you know what I mean? And I could tell you plenty of stories of when the actual warning happened. It's weird.
I just mentioned the Star Trek episode because that's where I learned the meaning of the word empath, because I didn't know what it meant before that. And I was, I don't know, I was like maybe 7, 8 years old when I saw that, maybe younger or older. Yes. I don't know, but
Sesame Street didn't really refer to empath type stuff.
But the one that played the empath, her name was Catherine Hayes, which I just looked that up because I had to know that, and I actually dated somebody with that name. Like,
Are you certain
20
it
years
wasn't
ago
that actress?
wasn't the same woman, but
Oh, okay.
it's just weird. She has the same name.
It's
That's
kind of weird.
crazy. But
Hey,
yeah,
were you guys talking about the Tower of Babel earlier? Because I was
A
cooking when you
little.
first started the show.
Not much. We are right on the cusp of the Tower of Babel. That's very first sentence next week.
So, not that I want to have that conversation about it.
We can.
Sometimes I get torn between Nimrod and Gilgamesh. Sometimes it seems like they're the same person. Sometimes it doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
How do you guys feel about that?
I've seen a lot of people suggesting that they are the same person. I don't necessarily agree with that, but I've seen a lot of people say that.
but
I've
the
just been
thing is,
listening to the tale. I agree. I never thought about that, but I've been listening to it 3 or 4 times as I fall asleep. They're very similar, and it's the same time period.
we will never know, and that's what goes about history and lore, and a lot of people have compared like Jesus with Thor, or not Thor, Hercules, where all the mythology mixes together. I'm
I
talking
don't.
biblical, I'm talking Greek, I'm talking Roman. It all
So,
mixes together with similar
It's called
paths and stories.
it's called syncretism.
Yes,
so
exactly.
one
Yeah.
of
Oh, thank you, Dumpy. I was sure there was a word for it. I just couldn't think of it right now. But
one of the mythological stories of Hercules is him making that like cloak out of the lion skin. It's hard for me to imagine Jesus doing that.
But he
Did-
is the lion
didn't-
and the lamb, and he is the robes
Didn't
you wear.
Samson
So
do
there's some.
something like that too?
I don't
yeah.
remember.
And so did Joseph and his American color dream.
Now,
Or
Samson and
now,
Hercules, that would make more sense than Jesus and Hercules.
well, think of the Spanish of Jesus. All right,
Jesus.
which is what is Jesus, son of Zeus, or
Interesting.
what? Zeus' son or something? What? I'm probably not getting.
But there is
that
a
right,
Zeus sound in there.
Yeah, like
yeah.
Jesus.
Well, Jesus or Hercules, son of Zeus.
Right.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Yeah.
But
I'm rusty as hell on my mythology. I used to read it when I was always grounded as a kid, both Greek and Roman, because I got really into the Narnia books and read all the Chronicles. And the only thing left that was similar to the mythology stuff or to the Narnia stuff was the mythology stories. So when I was 11, I was just bookworming it.
I was really into the Greek and the Roman mythology, and now that we're in retrograde of Mercury, I've noticed a lot of communication problems. But Mercury retrograde. Okay, Mercury was the god of the messenger. All right.
Now, I thought Mercury and wait, let me think.
You can see
Mercury
5 planets out tonight with the naked eye, by the way.
Yeah. But
No, I'm thinking about Mars. Never mind.
yeah, Mars was god of war.
Right.
Also the god of Volvo, apparently, because I had a Volvo with a shield and a sword on it. And sorry, no,
Nice.
that's a joke. But
It's a pretty good one.
I did have a Volvo with, but Volvo actually, but Mercury was the messenger of the gods, and it's odd when today's astrologist.
I remember the messenger being Hermes, and then at some point it changed to Hermes.
That's Greek. That's Greek. I'm talking about
Mercury and Hermes are the same. It's just Greek versus
exactly.
Roman versions.
Yeah.
But when did it change from Hermes to Hermes Trismegistus? That's new to me. Well, in the last few years, new. It was just always plain Hermes.
That could be like a Mandela effect, but
That's what I'm asking you.
I've never heard that.
That's actually a whole separate deal that's much later than classical Greek and Roman mythology.
Yeah.
It's like tied up with alchemy and stuff like that from the Middle Ages. So they've actually tied in Egypt with this Hermes Trismegistus as well.
But along with Thoth.
With Thoth, correct.
Right.
But what I was saying is, like, when Mercury's in retrograde, all communication, and that's when basically Mercury's behind the sun, right? And it's hidden from us, and that's also traditionally when all communication goes to hell.
I thought that was supposed to be Neptune.
No.
Oh wait, no.
All right. You guys
no, Neptune is farther up. Never mind.
As long as Uranus doesn't go retrograde, you should be okay.
Yeah.
Uranus.
And the Klingons don't attack Uranus.
Right.
Uranus is a gas giant.
I was thinking about Venus, not Neptune.
Well, there are Klingons on the starboard side of Uranus, apparently, allegedly.
I meant to say Venus, not Neptune. Sorry about that.
We're going back to Star Trek. All right.
Good call.
Sorry. I didn't mean to go there. I just had to. All right. So I got off the last train of thought at the station, and I'm waiting for a new one because I'm done with it. I'm ready for another train of thought.
Well, here's a train of thought. Just trying to think of what we can pull out of today's chunk of sentences.
Pull out of Uranus?
Out of Uranus, a gas giant. I think this may be the densest chunk of just starting up what is or isn't a Shemite. And Black Yoda, you jumped right into it, and we kind of glossed over it.
What about being the great something grandfather of Abraham?
Yeah, and how we have millennia old feuds going on between Ishmael and
Isaac. Dude, that blew my mind when I learned that that's what pretty much the beef was over, you know?
But
and just to
them,
make for certain, you have Islam communities here in America that still argue over Isaac and Ishmael. And that just blew my mind. I got family members that I might argue with when it comes to politics and other things, but I'm not going to go to war with them. You understand what I'm saying? Like,
there have been, you know, it's like the Family Feud with Richard Dawson. But look at the Hatfields and McCoys.
I was just thinking that.
I've actually met somebody with the last name Hatfield, and I made a joke, and she was like, we hate the McCoys, and she was like, this is not a joke, because a lot of people think of that as a joke. It wasn't a joke. It actually happened.
No, I know.
It was actually a historical thing that happened somewhat recently in our timeline, but they're still relatives of that family feud, which ran deep over. It was land. It was over land. And I can't remember. You know, which one of them had a judge in their family that
but if you were to argue about, you know, how Islam views their traditions, just regular Islam, right? I'm not talking about extremists or anything like that. I'm just talking about regular ass Islam.
Yeah.
You know, they have their traditions when it comes to, you know, first wife and second wife and their descendants. How come they can't look at it the same way?
Well, look at Catholicism.
I mean, for me, it's simple.
Look at Catholicism and who was it that nailed the German guy?
Luther.
Luther. Look at Luther and Catholicism, and then baptism here in the United States, and then Catholicism broken off into a lot of branches of the same tree. It started out with the same roots.
I could see that.
But it's a plant that started out with like what you're talking about. They started out with the same roots, but they had branched off, and what we call that in programming is a fork.
So in the Bible, I agree with you, Norm. He says he's going to make great nations out of Ishmael, and by the end, he actually redeems a lot of the Ishmael descendants. So God really likes the 12 tribes of Ishmael, from what I can pick up.
Well, hey, look, I got a fair question, and it's relative to then and now on what you just said.
Yep.
Now, I know when it comes to Israel, they went hard on the vax, right?
Yep.
I mean, 4th, 5th, 6th boosters. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I'm not too certain about the rest of the Middle East. Did they go hard on the vax too? And when I ask that, I'm asking about Ishmael's, great tribes and cities, blah blah blah. Is there redemption because they didn't do the vex as much as Israel did? Is my question. I really don't know the answer to that one because I never really looked at.
I don't know either because I'm not in that thing. But when I was growing up, I grew up Catholic. My parents weren't into vaccinations so much, but yeah, I got a pox vaccination that I still have a scar from today. But all the other, we didn't have vaccinations when I was a kid, but I grew up with like a lot of kids that were Catholic that their parents did not believe in vaccination.
I remember getting shots when I was a kid. Like, I'm only guessing that it was polio and some other goofy shit.
Well, no, I got smallpox. I know that because I have a scar right here from it. It looks like a cigarette burn. A scar burn. And and that's the only one that I know I got. I know I didn't get mumps because I had the mumps. I know I didn't get measles because I had the measles. I know I didn't get chickenpox because I had the chickenpox. I had all those as a natural immunity. But back then they said if you get the vaccine after you got it, it could conflict, right? And that's what my parents told me. It could conflict if you had the disease and you got the vaccine. They could conflict, which now they're saying natural immunity doesn't mean anything. You should get the vaccine even if you got, COVID. And then everybody I know that has had COVID, that has had the vaccine, has gotten COVID.
Have any of you heard of an African doctor by the name of Dr. Sebi?
Mm-mm.
He claimed to have cured AIDS and HIV through fasting and herbal teas and stuff like that, while fasting. Oh, they killed his ass in Mexico. They starved him to death in a Mexican prison because he proved it in court. He brought his clients and proved with the medical records, right?
But HIV could have been allegedly the creation of Dr. Fauci.
Right.
That's where he began in the 80s.
From the medicine involved.
Well, the reason why I mentioned Dr. Sebi is because he's a really prominent one.
Yeah, but
he was talking about viruses not being what we're told they are.
Exactly.
He was talking about that's the body's way of detoxifying, and the symptoms that you feel are those toxins because they're overloading your system, and you just got to wait for it to reset itself.
Exactly,
So
but he also claimed that HIV did not exist, which was not. He didn't claim it cured it. He just claimed it did not exist. If I'm
that
not
it wasn't what we were told that it is, that kind of thing.
if I'm not mistaken, he said it did not exist. Which is why he got not he got excommunicated, for sure, but he got shunned. That's the word I'm looking for saying it did not exist. And I knew people that volunteered for the Red Cross when I got out of high school, went into college. I knew people that went over to Africa and volunteered for the Red Cross. And this one girl I knew said that everybody that came in, they said, whatever their symptoms is, say it's AIDS, because we will not get funding if we don't have enough AIDS patients. That's when I knew the whole thing was a LARP. It was just not a LARP, but a farce.
That doesn't surprise me, but that is
And,
very new to me.
no, this is directly from a Red
No, I believe you.
Cross person. But that is what started happening with COVID too, which is like whatever they say their symptoms is, say it's COVID.
Right.
Because I heard that from a lot of nurses too recently, and then that kind of triggered my memory of this girl I knew that went over to Africa working for the Red Cross, who said the Red Cross is not what you think it is. She would not elaborate too much, but she did say that they were pushing AIDS.
Wait, who was the bastard that started Red Cross? G. Ross, can you look that up real quick? It was like a Rockefeller family or something similar.
I thought it was like Clara Barton, wasn't it?
It was somebody with big pockets was
but
partly responsible for the Red Cross, and I can't remember who it was.
But don't quote me on that, but just keep that in mind.
It was one of those families. I wouldn't be surprised if it was a Rothschild, but it was one of those big families.
The Rothschild is the one that pushed out all the natural medicine and brought in all the.
That was Rockefeller.
Yeah, that was
Rockefeller.
Rockefeller. Sorry,
Rockefeller.
Yeah, those are our families,
but there's probably no difference.
Right.
So
yeah,
Kitty
was.
Yes, sir. Go ahead, Debbie.
All medicines oil based, pretty much petroleum based. They were pushing for that.
Yeah, instead of the natural stuff.
Duppy, I said something when you were saying something.
Oh, I finished.
I mean, P. Thaggy. I don't know why.
Oh,
looked at the wrong icon.
P. Duppy.
P. Duppy.
No, it was Clara Barton, but I think Yoda's asking us who was her patron.
Right.
Yeah.
Quick Google shows Rockefeller.
Bam.
There you go. And with his push on herbals versus petroleum based, that doesn't surprise me at all.
Right.
Because he was well, in the medical establishment, where they were sandbagging anybody that didn't want to go with the flow.
Sloan says the Red Cross was started by the Hatfields.
But look at look at Prohibition. That was started by the Rockefellers as well.
Really? I thought that was bored housewives.
No, that's what the Rockefellers want you to think. But okay, the Rockefellers were oil family, right?
Right.
Okay, so what was used instead of oil before Prohibition?
Hemp. Hemp is in there somewhere. Right.
Alcohol.
Good point.
Do you guys know what laudanum was?
Opium.
Yeah, opium and whiskey.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
I've never heard of it. I've never heard of that.
Fun.
But ethanol ran everything before oil, before gasoline. All it took was a tweak of the carburetor to make all the cars run on gasoline and gasoline was worthless before. It was it was a byproduct of kerosene, which lit the lanterns. And basically at that time, kerosene was becoming worthless because of electricity. All right.
I never heard that about prohibition. Now I got something new to mess with.
All right. So, okay. Electricity was taken over the kerosene.
No, I know about that.
And gasoline was a byproduct, which they just let into the river. They just let it flow down the river because it was worthless.
Oh, isn't that
nice? And the diesel ethanol, they poisoned during Prohibition because the engineers who used to drink it to get drunk.
Right.
And they didn't want anybody to have anything to do. And Germany actually was the last one. They wanted their cars to still run off of ethanol.
Was Prohibition and the Great Depression the same time?
Yes, and that was only one. Okay, there was many causes of the Great Depression. Don't listen to Timothy Geithner, which is like going, right. Oh yeah, that was a stock market crash. No, there was a lot of things that caused the Great Depression. There was a stock market
Abrams
crash
on a trampoline caused.
Yeah, it was, but there was the Dust Bowl that also happened at the same time.
Right.
The Dust Bowl.
Right.
And that's what caused all the Okies and Arkies to move out here to where I live. Was the Dust Bowl. So there was a Dust Bowl. There was the stock market crash due to over what they're doing right now, which like over evaluating the stock and then doing futures and doing all this stuff where they're betting more than they can. You can actually like implode the stock where it could be underwater, which after the stock market crash, they stopped that until Clinton. That's another story. All right. So
well, just like Bill Gates is doing now. Well, the bankers were trying to buy up the farms.
Exactly, but there was many reasons for the Great Depression, but Prohibition was one of those reasons.
The reason why I brought up the Great Depression is there's a lady.
Variables. Yeah. Sorry.
There's a lady that wrote a book, and I'm trying to remember the complete title of it. It was something to live like a king. And the latter part of the title was something but being broke as hell, basically. And for the life of me, I can't remember the complete title, but it was full of, examples of what people experienced because of the Depression and how they got by. And one of the pages in that book was a recipe to make alcohol, just out of sugar and water. Probably yeast or something.
Yeah. No, you can make alcohol out of many things. Yeah. No, I did home brewing for a long time. So I know what you're saying, but one of the reasons the whole reason why the oil companies became so big was because of the Great Depression. There was another thing that happened right before that too, which was the Titanic.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many variables and so many.
Actually, I would argue that
web.
I would argue that the oil companies were huge long before that, because Standard Oil got broken up in 1915 because it was too big.
Yeah, exactly. But
and you can't bring up the Titanic without mentioning the Olympic.
But yes,
right.
Exactly. But that's a whole other story. But what I'm saying is electricity was killing oil because it was lighting the lamps.
Right.
kerosene was lighting lamps. They had to do something to combat the electricity company because electricity was taking over at the same time.
Have y'all seen pictures of the electric vehicles and scooters that they had back then?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I was just thinking about that.
Yeah, but
supposedly Edison
other
invented one that was better than a modern Tesla.
I've heard about that too.
No,
Yeah.
it wasn't Edison. It was Tesla that invented that.
There's something because I heard an argument about
it was Edison. Tesla was AC.
Yeah,
I read
Edison
something.
was DC.
Also did invent one too, but yeah.
I read an argument about that, and it argued it wasn't so much that Edison's was better. It had something to do with weight versus the amount of charge and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's what I read. Is that it had a more sustained charge than a modern Tesla has.
Huh.
Well, yeah, but the problem with Edison versus Tesla couldn't actually, and here's the rub, he couldn't charge for his electricity. I mean, and I don't mean charge as in electricity charge. I mean charge monetarily.
It was free.
Yes. And that's why J.P. Morgan dropped Tesla and went with Edison. It's because he couldn't charge for it. And he couldn't because of wattage you can charge for in Edison's.
I got to read the whole.
It's ironic. Sorry, I was for something ironic, but yeah, it's. Yeah.
I've got a rabbit hole that ties into kind of both of what you just said. So lately, I've been going down rabbit holes talking about jet fuel, jet fuel for planes is like
fake,
right?
Yep.
Well,
and that they're actually using.
Why do you think jet fuel is fake?
They don't need as much as they say.
I got another rabbit hole with the Hindenburg.
That's a different issue.
I got another rabbit hole with the Hindenburg and hydrogen, where
the reason why I bring that
was just so hydrogen wouldn't get so popular because the hydrogen.
The reason why I bring up the jet fuel rabbit hole is because not only is AC and DC different, Tesla wanted to do free energy, and I don't think you can do the same kind of free energy with the other electricity. I don't think it works like that.
That's what Norm was saying.
That's what I was just saying. It's wattage because you can charge per watt. You cannot charge per current. Basically, even though current and also the financial vocabulary that ties into charging with wattage and currency and current, it is astounding because the vocabulary. Do you understand the vocabulary I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
I do.
Yeah. Where you can charge for it, where you can owe, or it's currency where it flows like a river.
Well, current.
So this is actually, it's Latin too. No, this goes back into the vocabulary involved with everything.
Right.
It is actually very fascinating when you go down that rabbit hole. But
because that's when you get into immorality law and the wordplay that the Vatican wants to use and the birth certificates and all that, the legalese,
and the quantum vocabulary. But I have to go get another beer before I go into this. But think about the charging and the currency. All right, or the current and the electricity. And the free. Okay, never mind. I need another beer before I can go.
So in the chat, quite a ways back, Kitty Woo said she is familiar with Dr. Sabi. Just wanted to point that out.
Oh, nice.
That was it. from this
No,
chat.
Dr. Sabi, he would talk about plant hybrids and how you have to stay away from those fruits and vegetables.
Yep.
Which grains are better than others.
Wait a minute. Does that mean you can't eat a nectarine?
A nectarine in particular, I don't remember, but
Nectarine is a hybrid of a peach and an apricot or something like that. I don't remember which ones in particular, but it's a simple hybrid of two different fruits.
he was saying that he was basically saying that plants that were manipulated by man through like hybrids aren't as beneficial as the ones that are natural, still made by God. You know what I mean? And he basically was really specific about certain grains and vegetables and real specific about certain fruits. Had many books talking about the topic, you know? And you have a lot of people that swear up and down that they stuck to his recipes and cured their diabetes, heart disease, all kinds of things. You know what I mean? It's an interesting thing to learn. A lot of that stuff, I think, ties back into the Bible too. I'm a still firm believer that we're not meant to eat meat. But I don't push that on people. I just mention it from time to time.
But he told Noah, the big booming voice from the clouds said Noah could eat meat.
I know about dominion on the earth and all that stuff. I'm just
listen. I think you're onto something. It's just bacon is so tasty.
Wow. He was very specific about pork.
That's why I think Hamites are the most tasty of the group.
Way to bring it back to the topic, Duppy.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry, what was the topic?
The topic is the line of Shemites that we studied today, but really anything goes.
All right. So sorry, I went off into a tangent of other things.
Love it.
Who is the Shemites descendant of again?
Shem.
Yeah.
Oh, well, is a Shem or a she or him?
Oh, that's like a man and a woman. Dude, that blew my mind when they did that in Congress.
Right.
Me and my father don't get along when it comes to politics. It will make us instantly argue. And as soon as I saw that, I texted him the article. I was like, "These are your people. These are your people." I was explain this to me, right? A man and a woman. Sorry, off topic. I
love it.
Well, is that like history and her history and herstory?
Right.
Yeah, same thing. Shemites and wait, how would you say that? Shemites and Shermites.
I'm assuming
and Hera.
I'm assuming Semite.
No.
I'm assuming Semite comes from the word Shemite.
He-Man and She-Ra, or no, She. I don't know. I was trying to go somewhere completely different. And now, I'm sorry for throwing off the chat too. I went off into a bunch of different thoughts that I've been thinking about for a while that nobody talks about. Like
we talk about this stuff on other channels.
What? Yeah, but I went off into financial and electricity and the whole like little undertones that. Now I don't talk about the charging and the currency and the electricity and the
I think the currency thing
and the gasoline and stuff like that. I don't talk about that much, but
I think the currency thing has to do with more current, as in river, because it ties into admiralty law, water, right? The kind of current you're talking about.
I didn't think about the admiralty law. I thought about the Alan Parsons project, but not.
No, because the admiralty law is tied into the Vatican. It gives them dominion over all things related, right?
Well, no.
So that's
I know exactly.
And who invented admiralty or maritime law?
The Romans, I thought.
Nope.
I thought the Romans did to give balance between other countries and commerce.
Nope.
Probably going to say the Phoenician.
Correct.
Yep.
And the Greeks got it from the Phoenicians, and then the Romans got it from the Greeks.
And I totally skipped over my Alan Parsons project.
Really? I always thought admiralty came from Rome.
Yeah.
The
Go
first Rome mention of admiralty law came from the Eastern Roman Empire, the Byzantine Empire. But they got it originally from the Greeks. What do they call it? The Rhodian law or something had to do with the island of Rhodes is where the Romans got it from. And then
do you have any links on that one?
Pardon me?
Do you have any links on that one?
Yeah.
I don't have my notepad out here. I don't want to forget to look that up later.
All right, let me grab something for you.
While you're looking, Duppy, to bring it back to the text in Genesis 10:4. Genesis 10:5. It says that the descendants of Japheth went to they became the coastal nations and spread into their own lands and nations. But coastal, would you imagine that they were the Phoenicians? I mean, if the story is to be believed, would that be the?
I don't think that's a bad assumption, but I'm sure you could poke holes in it.
Let me throw in on that. To me, I've got mentally mapped for now. The Japhethites went to Turkey and passed to Greece, but I feel like the Phoenicians are more Canaanites, mostly because I want them to be the bad guys.
Okay.
So, I mean,
that totally resonates. But in fact, the Japhethite line goes beyond Turkey and Greece. It goes. It arcs. I think I found it in a concordance or a
if the Phoenicians,
it goes all the way
went
to
the Greeks and then to the Romans,
which is
that would make them the bad guy.
Southern Spain.
Right. They almost become like the boat people, right? The Japhethites. The seafarers.
But
yeah.
Well, you're calling it into question, but their land extended not just to Greece, but it went following the Mediterranean all the way through southern France into Spain.
Right.
And they mentioned the city of Cadiz, which still exists.
No,
wait, wouldn't that mean that same territory led into like the development of the Moors?
No, this was the other side of the north
good
side
question,
of the Mediterranean.
Though. That's a good question.
No, because the Moors took over a lot of that shit.
They came in, right?
That was way later. Yeah. That was way later.
They came in. So, Pythagi, I'm conflicted on that because you're right. I called it into question, but man, it really snaps into place. Both, like, there's something funky going on there.
Well, so maybe Duffy could help clarify because I thought the Phoenicians were headquartered in like Tyre or somewhere in the Levant.
They were in Byblos first, and then Sidon kind of overtook it as the big city, and then some people from Sidon created Tyre, and in later times Tyre was the big Phoenician port until the Persians took over the Levant, and so they moved their operations to Carthage, which was their biggest outpost prior to that, and so they became the Carthaginians.
So maybe they are Shemites after all.
Wait. I know this was in later times, maybe around, similarly to like the Moors. But then you have the Mongols that moved in. So when we're talking about the descendants of a lot of these different tribes, it bled into a lot of different ethnicities.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of branches off of that. Okay, so there's a root and there's the tree and there's branches, right?
Right.
So we're going way far back right now with
Right.
with the roots of these branches of the tribes. But what was the root of all of this?
Noah, Abraham.
We don't know. We don't know.
Well, we're talking about Noah in this chapter. We're still on
Yeah.
Noah.
So it was Noah.
Right. Everything reset with Noah.
Yeah.
It was a repopulation of the earth.
Hey, can I change the subject really quick just to show Black Yoda something if I share my screen on
please.
the Phoenicians and the maritime law?
Yeah, please, please.
Can you guys see this?
Yeah.
It's redacted. No, I'm just kidding.
Hey, let me
redacted.
let me
right underline. Okay.
Read
Hey,
the
before
part.
you,
Read the part
I'm on my
that's
phone.
underlined.
I'm on my phone. Let me go inside so I can see it better on the laptop.
Okay.
And I can squeeze in another cup of coffee. Give me just a quick 30 seconds.
Yeah, sorry I missed part of the conversation. I was
So
saying goodbye to a friend.
I did like 2 years ago, I did some digging on the origins of maritime law, not knowing that it came from the Phoenicians, but suspecting it probably did. And this was sort of the best treatise on it that I found.
All right, let me open it up. Where's Foxhole? There it is.
So it's
the
kind
thing,
of, yeah.
The
Why is
thing
it
called
blurry?
the Lex Rhodia was the Greek version.
And why is Foxhole blurry? Is it something I did wrong?
Yeah, change it. Switch back and forth between low and high res. On the bottom right of the video, maybe that will help. Okay,
but you can also see it on your phone, maybe.
But do
it's
you
really
see
small.
low res and high res?
What's that blue arrow?
So on Foxhole, you want to hit the.
Wait, that's a lot better. The blue arrow.
Yeah.
I can see it better. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, next to the blue arrow, it says HD.
There you go.
All right, thank you, people. All right, so what is this I'm looking at again?
This is some research or documentation I found on where maritime law came from.
Loans on bottomry. I'm not going to crack jokes on that.
So just the part that's underlined in red. Is
right. I was just getting to the.
I'll be right back. I have to go deal with something.
Did you leave Shiloh outside?
I don't think Shiloh was even outside with me.
Yes, I did.
When? He might be out there. He can't go anywhere.
So it's desert communism.
Romans borrowed from the Phoenicians. It's now.
Duffy, do you want to read the? It's really small on our screen. Do you want to read the relevant part?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I can read it. So
the tribes of the Sahara as the customary mode. I was reading it to myself. Go ahead, Duffy.
Okay, so the digging that I did, it's mostly known from the Byzantine era, like around the time of Justinian, so 500 AD, as far as the Romans go. But the question is, did it predate that? Where did the Romans get it, in other words? And what you find next is that it came from a thing called the Lex Rhodia, which is Greek, named after the island of Rhodes, which was a very big trading port for the Greeks.
Right.
So the sentence that's underlined in red says the Lex Rhodia de jactu, which I'm not sure what that is in Latin or whatever, but which the Romans borrowed from the Phoenicians via the Greeks, presumably, is now in great observance among the tribes of the Sahara as the customary mode of distributing the losses incurred by caravans crossing the desert between the company owning the camels or what in railway language would be called the plant, and the passengers or owners of goods. So you can imagine that camel situation there is exactly analogous to old Phoenician ships. And
this is where insurance comes from.
correct.
Well spotted.
Yeah, you know what? Marco Polo popped in my head when you read that. I know that's long after the fact too, but
But he's
you know,
definitely a mind control.
Well, there
component.
is a connection there because Marco Polo was from Venice,
right?
and Venice was the premier sort of trading civilization of the Middle Ages.
That plus trading
a lot of
between
people
them and
think,
like the East.
And a lot of people think the Venetians were actually Phoenicians 1,000 years before. Same people.
There's a few theories about where the Venetians came from. One of them, which I think they believe in their own sort of annals, was that they were the exiled Trojans resettled in Venice.
The Romans say the same thing if you read Virgil.
Yeah, because when I hear Venetians, I think of Venice too. Where were the Venetians at related to the where Venice is at?
It's the same place.
How could it be? Venice is built on water.
Yeah, it's a lagoon or an island. Yeah.
So the outskirts of Venice.
No, Venice is like a chain of islands with one main island, but that was how they became impregnable, was having a city that was like swamped and built on the water, and you could only attack it by sea, and so they built like the strongest navy. And then fast forward all those thousands of years, they were the ones supplying all the ships that brought the Crusaders to the Levant. So in the analogy of the camel caravan and the sea law, they were actually the ones chartering all the boats to bring the Europeans over to retake the Holy Land.
Got you. That's really interesting. That's really interesting. We get so caught up in believing the lies that we were told about what we think history is. I would have never thought to like go past the Romans to like the Phoenicians about maritime.
Well,
I would have
it's
never
really
thought.
well. Duffy can tell you it's also really hard to connect. So it's no wonder why they don't teach it.
And
I think you're right. I think they're trying to hide a lot of history from us.
And then they distract us with it, but there is still vocabulary like I was talking about.
You know, let me say this real quick. I don't mean to butt in, but let me say this real quick. Pretty soon, I'm gonna have to work nights, and that's part of the reason why I've asked you guys to participate with the Wednesday night shows, and that's gonna affect Wednesdays for me and Fridays for me. So I'm trying to slowly step down until I know more about what my schedule is going to be like.
Right.
On top of that, I'm really glad you guys participate because you, P. Thaggy, and you, Duppy, y'all go deep with this shit. And it's very much appreciated.
Well, Stephen, you challenged me. I know you and I...
Don't say it. We don't bump heads, you know, but...
Well, no, but you no, I didn't say we bump heads. I said you challenged me.
I'm teasing.
But and I have a lot of distractions in my life. Okay, so never mind. Hold on. I got to deal with a distraction.
Wait, I got lag on my end. I think I'm either frozen.
You're looking good here.
No, that's not my pose right now. And I get this damn buffer wheel. That's on the
Oh, let me check my playback.
Actually, no, that's on my laptop. It's not happening on my cell phone. So let me
Okay.
close this out and come back in. My laptop doesn't like something. It might be that arrow that I clicked.
Yeah,
For
it
the
might not
HD.
like something I got here, but yeah.
And I got way too many screens open. Bernie, your laptop sucks when it comes to this.
Mm-hmm.
It won't even let me close. I'm gonna have to bring up Task Manager. Yeah, you know what? I'm just gonna ignore the laptop. Take
That'll
my ass
work.
back outside.
That'll work.
Yeah. But yeah, you Duppy and you Pithaki, you guys bring up some interesting stuff. It's not so much that I want to challenge anybody. As you guys talk about things, it's hard for me to like not necessarily freestyle, but it's hard for me. I got so much garbled in my head that when you guys talk about things, it triggers like, oh yeah, oh, that ties into this or this. You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And
I
I'm
do.
just so eager. I'm so full of information that I'm just eager to bust out knowledge.
Well, yeah, it's
Most
true. I
people
mean,
in most people in my circle, they wouldn't even know how to handle these conversations.
Right.
I
But
asked my father the other day if he knew what the pineal gland was, and he was like, no. And I'm like, how can you possibly ever argue with me when you don't even know what the damn pineal gland is?
but uh, Stephen, part of philosophy is you, um, you don't know anything. Basically,
Well, I know what you're getting at.
when you study philosophy, it's knowing that you don't know anything, and you
I'm gonna
want to
take it easy here.
learn.
The more you something like the more you learn, the more you realize you know nothing or something like that.
yeah, that's
Correct.
the sentiment.
Yeah. No, I can totally
And,
agree with that.
and I don't know if you know Pythagoras is Pythagoras. He's actually a reincarnation of Pythagoras.
No, I'm not a reincarnation.
That guy was
Oh,
a dark magician, a shadowy magical figure.
that's a nice play
He
on words.
was.
Yeah.
He was actually, and I don't object to anyone who says that he was a cult leader or that he was shady or that he killed someone for finding irrational numbers. I'm down with all that.
Wasn't Pythagoras into like alchemy and shit like that?
Yeah, he was for sure.
Yeah, yeah. See, like this is why I like talking to you guys because I can nerd out with you and you understand. You don't have to Google everything being discussed.
Nerd.
I wrote a
That's
poem
right.
for a chick and she had to get a dictionary to understand like damn near every other word. I am not joking.
You're so romantic.
Yeah. No, I can keep up even with like two women in the background trying to. Yeah, never mind.
Finish that sentence, Norm.
I know I have to go deal with one of them right now. All right, sorry. I'll be right back.
Okay. The Black Yoda. So I'm not even sure I know what all the pineal gland can do. I just know it's important.
So the pineal gland, you see its depiction in a lot of different cultures,
Well,
depicted as like a pine cone,
yep.
like a closed pine cone.
Yep.
And if you also see depictions, if it's cut open and you're looking at it like from the side view,
Right.
it almost looks like that eye that's outlined with the gold stuff in Egyptian hieroglyphics.
Yeah.
The Eye of Horus.
I think that's what it's called. So the pineal gland is supposed to be like the driver's seat of where your soul is at.
Yep.
It's
And
also the gland that releases DMT at the moment of death to release your soul.
I can't believe.
when you're sleeping, right?
And when you're sleeping, yes. And when you're sleeping.
And so also when you see a lot of medical symbolisms, you'll see the two snakes intertwining with each other going up a staff.
Right.
And that's in relation to your spine. And there's supposed to be a fluid that you secrete once you lock in your chakras and do some what's the word for that? Um, damn it, it's at the tip of my tongue.
Kundalini.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. Oh my God, thank you. Having those fluids go up your spine is and then back down again is
Yeah,
somehow
I saw that. I saw that dig. Someone called it like the anointing oil, and that maybe that's what Jesus was talking about.
right. That's that Italian dude that is real big on admiralty law. They censor. He has a long last name, and they censored the shit out of this content. The real skinny guy, long hair. Oh man,
I can't
if you
Can't
remember
heard
his
think
his
name.
of it.
if you heard his name, you would know who I'm talking about.
Probably I would, yeah.
You would see a lot of videos where he's standing outside of court houses,
Right.
and he's just talking to the crowds
Yep.
of how they can't really get over on him with the wordplay and the legalese. But no, the pineal gland is important, and it actually sits outside the brain. It sits
Yep.
outside the blood-brain barrier. It's literally where your third eye is supposed to be.
So what I'm kind of getting at is we got to get ready to talk to the less initiated. We got to be ready to teach them about this stuff.
Well, this is another aspect of the pineal gland is fluoride will calcify your pineal gland to where you lose your connection with God, your spirituality seat. You know what I mean? It's supposed to be a transceiver receiver. And there's a lot of stuff that's added to our foods and added to our water that's interfering with those receptions.
Right.
So I'm not perfectly versed on the pineal gland, but I could make a good conversation with a lot of people about it. You know what I mean?
Right. So
yeah, you could introduce it to them.
Yeah.
Right.
So do it in tiny steps for those who don't know anything about it is what we've learned, right? Like I started with my college friend 4 years ago and said, hey, guess what? Hillary eats babies. Well, I lost him as a friend.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Horrible lunge. That's not the right lunge.
I wasn't even thinking about that. Oh my
No,
God.
but my point is don't, if somebody doesn't know what the pineal gland is, just start introducing it to them slowly. Just say, oh, it's.
Yeah, well.
Yeah.
I think that a topic like this one should come very late in somebody's awakening.
Well, no, but
yeah.
I think you should be asking them questions about the topic. I was
Socratic.
I had to take a phone call, but with any topic, you ask them the questions.
Yeah, where you at?
We weren't talking about adrenochrome. We were just in general talking about the pineal gland. I wasn't even thinking about adrenochrome as I was.
But we moved on to like the art of red pilling. How do you introduce this? And Norm is right. You have to do it Socratically. You have to do it in small steps. So rather than lunging with like, did you know that about adrenochrome? Did you know about child sacrifice? Maybe you start with like, hey, did you happen to notice this or that about history and how it's not even taught? It seems easy to find, but it's not part of the curriculum.
Well,
then you just kind of move in very, very small steps.
I ask my friends what they know about it. I act like I'm dumb.
Right.
And I act like I don't know anything about it. And I was like, what do you know about this?
I don't even know anybody in real life who is at the point where this kind of topic's even appropriate. They'll just think you're nuts.
Like my father, for instance, there was a reason why I was bringing it up to him, and it had to do with something that I was feeling at the time. And it was almost like a dizzy feeling, but it was abnormal for how I normally feel. And it felt like a pulse, like a split-second pulse, but in that pulse, it felt dizzy, and it felt like the source of it was coming from my pineal gland, right? And I got concerned about it because it kept happening that morning. And so I took my dog for a walk because he's only a couple blocks from where I live. And so before I got into the conversation about the pulse thing, I wanted to ask him, I was like, do you know what the pineal gland is? And he was like, not really. From the point of view, like, never even heard of it, So it surprises me on how much people don't know.
But
And I'm not
Right.
just specifically talking about the
surprised
pineal
about
gland, but just in general.
how much
God,
people know. Like
that too.
the
But
woman that just left, maybe 2 years ago, something came up about like adrenochrome, and she went off on it. Well, her father is from Mexico. No, her mother's from Mexico. Her father. Okay, but her mother's from Mexico and knows all about adrenochrome, and and that was like a weird conversation because she went off on like adrenochrome
Hmm.
about, and she told me things that I didn't know. So that's
so, Duppy, I would have to disagree though. You said that you don't think you'd know anyone or any of us would know anyone who could handle these conversations.
That's not what I said. I said I don't know anyone.
Oh, well, so I'll give you an anecdote. I met a guy at a bar. He's probably 24 years old. He had been dating a Jewish woman, and he was getting pretty serious about marrying her. And when he told his parents, they freaked out and they're like, no, you can't marry a Jew. They're evil and they're this. And turns out they were right wing Trump supporters and they're completely brainwashed against Jews.
But Trump
And
likes
they basically
Israel.
hold on. There's a point to the story.
Sorry.
So they went, what I'm saying is that even though it's fringe and it's not mainstream, there are people out there who these things would definitely resonate with, but it can go too far. You can swing too far the other way. And then somehow you can't even speak reasonably to them because Jews are bad and like they've made their mind up about everything and every conspiracy is true. So how do you help those people at the same time?
I have a cousin that's like that. He goes hard about not liking Jewish people, right? Not realizing there's a difference between Ashkenazi and lost tribes. I just choose not to have that conversation with him for the time being because he's held on to that. I don't know if you want to call it hatred or animosity for fucking years.
Can there be good Ashkenazi?
Yeah.
Yes.
I just don't believe that they're lineage as far as like bloodline.
Gotcha.
I look at it as a ancestry that made a conversion.
well, how many of us here are mutts? Like
I'm definitely a mutt.
All of
yeah,
us.
no, I come. Yeah, no, my grandmother was half Sioux Indian, and yeah, so
What do you mean? Are any of us sons of Noah? No.
yeah, exactly what I'm saying. Yeah,
No.
we're all like, if we've been in the United States for more than, I don't know how many generations. I've been here for, I don't know how many generations, but we are all mutts if we've been, because the United States is a melting pot.
If anything that we've proven tonight is there's been a lot of traveling amongst different cultures since Noah and now. So even though we might be mutts, there's been a lot of mixing of the blood.
Well, that's what my point is. Like,
So you know what? You can almost make the argument that that's why they have so many DNA companies now. Like they want to follow and track a gene or something from back then.
well, I heard the one of them. What? Hold on.
I think you're right, Yoda. I mean, maybe not every lab tech or every employee, but I think there are definitely people in the life sciences who are looking for something.
Yeah, and when you have companies like BlackRock that are buying out these DNA labs and companies, that's a little concerning. Why are they so interested in ancestry.com and shit like that? Even the Chinese,
Exactly.
They're
right?
looking. They're looking.
They're looking for Black Yoda, people.
They're looking for
Oh
the
Lord!
last
Oh
starfighter.
Lord! Oh my
No,
God!
I'm joking.
That's a
I'm
good
joking.
one. They're looking for the
But
last starfighter.
pretty much good analogy.
Yep.
But no, they're looking for something, and I think they're looking for the same thing that we look at history through the biblical text.
Or they're just looking to make targeted bioweapons.
Uh-huh.
Against the
Yeah.
lost tribes. Think about it. Against the lost tribes.
Yeah.
Well,
The
be that as
Luciferians
it
don't
may,
want us bringing in the end times, right?
but Dubby's right. We don't know what people, but they're definitely trying to make DNA biological weapons.
Right. It's
Whether
concerning.
that's redheads, whether that's Shemitic people, or whether it's something else, whether you have lactose intolerance, who knows? But they're definitely doing it.
Yeah, they're up to something. And when have they ever been up to something good as a whole?
Never,
Well,
never.
and I would say this. There's a vial for everyone. They're not going to hold back. There's something on
Oh,
the
you think
shelf for everyone.
I've never done Ancestry.
Oh, you mean like a Rockefeller antidote?
Yes.
Okay,
Look. I'll
guys.
put it like this: they've kept the foreskins of the babies that they've cut it
Yep.
off of.
They talked
I've
about
never
it.
done I've never done Ancestry.com, but I did get a DUI.
It's,
And I got that DUI because they took a vial of my blood.
Is that
God
Katie
knows
back
what
there?
happened to that.
all right.
When I'm diabetic, so whenever I have to do like a checkup, they always want to take blood. Why do y'all need so much blood?
Because they keep it.
Yeah.
They talked about it on Ellen DeGeneres with what's her name, Sandra Bullock. Keeping
With the
foreskins.
makeup. Yeah.
Yep.
All right, guys. This is Michelle. This is Kitty's best
Michelle.
friend. So this is okay. That's Steven, otherwise known as Black Yoda.
Hello, Miss Lady waving the hand.
Just G-Ross.
Hello, Michelle.
That's Pythagoras, Pythagi, and that's Dumpy. So,
Hi, Michelle, my belle.
she's known on the Foxhole Bright Eyes if you see her, but she doesn't show up that often. But,
Is she the one with the family, the Latin family that knows about the adrenochrome that you were just talking about?
yeah. What do you say about adrenochrome, Michelle?
That was the Beatles.
Okay, your mom told you about adrenochrome. And what did you tell me the first time you heard about adrenochrome? They said they take it from the back of your neck or whatever.
A dermal. It's called.
It's what?
They put it in the back of your spine.
That's where like your cerebellum and stuff is at. No,
One of those.
But
actually.
she
I had spinals.
She's very liberal, by the way. But
Great.
she's not political, but yeah.
Is she old school liberal or new school liberal?
Old school.
I'm nothing.
She's nothing.
I got to say, the me of today, the me of 15, 20 years ago might look at my attitude toward Dick Cheney and call me a liberal also.
I'm nothing.
She's nothing.
Yeah. What I like and I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
No, her from.
Fair.
She's from like her dad's from
East LA. My dad's.
Yeah, East LA.
My mom's from East LA. My dad's.
So during the Cheney years, I didn't know about globalism the way I know about it now.
Right.
I just knew I didn't like Dick Cheney. I didn't like Bush. But now that I know about globalism and the fight between it and nationalism,
right,
I still stand by my original disdain for them. You know.
But you got to admit, everybody laughed when Cheney shot his partner in the face.
Yes.
Hey, did you guys see? It's related to what you just said. Dave Chappelle, when he wanted to buy a gun, and the guy was telling him the difference between buckshot and birdshot. When he was, oh my God, that was hilarious because in my head I was picturing the Cheney situation.
Yep.
That definitely had to be birdshot.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that is hilarious. Somebody?
I actually.
Yeah, no, I muted because Michelle was saying something. But
Oh.
Michelle,
You're gonna mute Michelle? Come on.
all right, Michelle. So her dad's French and her mom's Mexican from East, but she's like East LA Mexican, which is different than Mexico Mexican, right?
Frenchican.
Frenchican. Exactly.
Frenchican.
Thank you.
She's a Frenchican. Yeah.
Frenchicali.
Wait, what was that movie that said, "Are you a Mexican or Mexican"?
Ooh.
I'm a
Ooh.
Mexican.
Oh, what movie was that?
Anything you can do. I can craft everything.
Oh, it had
What movie was that?
it had
She has no idea.
it had that chick from Dusk Till Dawn in it.
Once upon a
And
time.
Antonio
in
Banderas.
Mexico.
Hayek.
Once
What's that?
upon a time.
It might be something like that. I always thought that was funny because I never heard that before
It
up
was
until
Danny
that movie.
Trejo.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
He's well known here.
Yeah, Robert Rodriguez's movie.
Those tacos.
Once
Daddy
upon a
Dude,
time.
do you
in
know he's
Mexico.
actually really short in real life?
It's crazy.
Look up how
Danny?
tall he is.
You're on a first name basis? You call him Danny?
Danny, yeah.
Danny Trejo. He
He-
has a taco stand on La Brea.
Yeah, he.
I don't call him Danny. I call him Machete.
Yeah.
5
Yeah,
foot.
Machete, right?
5.5 foot. Not so tall.
No, but you would think he was huge in comparison to like his roles in movies, right?
The way they show him, yeah.
No, he's
Same with
really short.
Schwarzenegger.
Like, he's as tall as like, what's his name? Sylvester Stallone, who's really short as well.
Crazy.
Yeah, how tall is he? He's a short guy.
I don't know. He's like Sylvester Stallone. There was this guy that looked like a fire hydrant in front of me once, and but he had shoulders out. I can't even like do it in front of the camera, but he had shoulder. He looked like a fire hydrant,
Like John Favreau from Four Christmases.
and then I was like, "Who is this guy?" And he looked around. He turned around. It was Sylvester Stallone. And he was like 5'2". I was like going, "Holy crap! His shoulders are taller than he." No, his
shoulders are wider than he is tall.
Yeah.
Hey,
It was
G-Ross,
like a
do you
fire
remember?
hydrant. I mean, like it was crazy.
G-Ross, do you remember the Cusack dig?
Yes, a little
Favreau was in it.
bit. Where? That's awesome that he was. I don't remember that. Where was he?
He was. His family was very tight with the Cusacks when they were growing up, and probably still are.
Favreau is the reason Star Wars is still good, right? Kathleen
Who's
Kennedy,
Favreau?
John Favreau. He concepted like the Boba Fett show or the Mandalorian show. I mean, and some of the others.
Actually, you know what? I only seen the first season of Mandalorian. I thought it was pretty good though. I enjoyed it better than I did the revamp of the Star Wars movies.
There was only one season, and then there was a Book of Boba Fett after
Right.
that.
Oh,
That's right.
okay.
Yeah, it's good
But,
stuff.
I remember that last episode of Mandalorian though, when they were punching the shit out of Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
And everybody the next day was pissed online. How dare you?
Right.
Okay. I think you're right here, Michelle. I love you, but
Okay. Sorry.
Since I have
So
early work and we've probably exhausted today's text, what do you guys think about
love you guys.
last topics? Michelle, love you.
Bye bye.
Yeah, I didn't even realize how much time went by until just now.
It's been quite. The chat was lit up. There was some people saying this was a really good evening.
That 2 hours doesn't feel like 2 hours.
I know. It's a few minutes shy of 2 hours, but it's almost 2 hours.
Oh, that flew by. Wow.
I mean, yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
No. Hit it.
No, I was just gonna say I'll start the closeout I don't really have much to say other than what I had said earlier. Eventually, I'm gonna be working at night, and this isn't really the kind of conversation that you could have like on a break. It would
Right.
have to be really brief, you know.
Right.
And that's gonna affect my Wednesday nights, and my Friday nights. So don't let that be a surprise to you guys in the future. But like always, very nice conversation. And as soon as I go inside, I'm gonna write down the maritime and the Phoenician thing because I would like to see through that, or not see through, but learn about that more. That's really interesting.
Yeah, just remember that phrase Lex Rhodia. That'll get you there.
Yeah. I was looking at it through my laptop. I should have took a screenshot of it on my phone when I had the chance. Hey, matter of fact, DM me the link if you will. That way,
I don't have a link to that. I have a screen cap. I can DM you that though.
that's fine. That's fine because I can blow that up. Because I saw where it said the word, but I don't remember how they spelled it.
Okay.
Hey guys, I'm gonna go, but thank you for having me on. I gotta go. We gotta get Michelle and
Perfect
over
timing,
here.
Norm.
But love you guys.
Thanks for joining.
So have a good night.
Good night. Bye, Michelle.
Bye.
It's so quiet.
I didn't have much to say after that. For me, it's really simple. I don't really do a whole long closeout.
Nice shades. Thank you, Black Yoda. Duppy? I'm just going clockwise on my screen.
Yes.
Any leftover thoughts?
I think this was probably the best conversation we've had
Agreed.
on this show so far. And hopefully they will get even better. Went by real fast.
It really did. I feel cheated in a way. I got another 2 hours left in me if it feels the same, you know.
Man,
But I realized,
yeah. I got to get up
you
early,
got
but
stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pete Thaggy with the best shades in the business. And the Illuminati swoosh symbol on your shirt.
I did. Exactly. I do have some closing thoughts. So
Yes.
I want to correct myself earlier. G-Ross, you said you sort of wanted the Shemites to be the bad guys?
No, the Hamites. I meant to say. I may have spoken wrong.
Yes, we both got that wrong. I was looking at the Bible. It's the Ham line, the one that was cursed.
Yes.
The tasty
Those,
one.
the tasty one. Those are the Canaanites, and those are the ones that we supposed were eventually the Phoenicians. So that's a correction.
So that would make them the descendants of Cain.
Maybe.
No,
I think
they're descendants of Noah. We're talking about Noah. But Noah had cursed Ham's line.
But I thought the Canaanites were the descendants of Cain.
No. It's just a homonym. It's not Cain, it's Canaan. So it's a different line, and it's from Ham. And Ham was cursed. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago.
All right.
We talked about the curse.
I'm gonna write that down, and we pick that up next week. Because if that's not true, then why was Jesus not willing to help the Canaanite lady? What was it about her that he was just like, "Oh, you're a Canaanite. I'm not helping you"? And
I
she
don't
said,
remember that one.
and she
But yeah,
basically,
write it down.
she basically said, even the dog gets scraps from the master's table, and he changed his mind about helping her, but he didn't want to help her because she was a Canaanite.
Okay, yeah, write that one down for sure.
Yeah, I will.
This second callback I wanted to do was on the Mohammedans or the Ishmaelites. I could be wrong, but I thought this is going back maybe 20 years, but I thought that the Holy Kaaba, the black cinder block building that
Yeah, the square one.
in Mecca where they pay homage or they do their Hajj. I thought that was Abraham. It's like a little hovel that Abraham used to occupy at one time, and they erected like an outer structure to preserve it, and then they put a tarp over it. So like even the Mohammedans have a Abraham story, and they revere him, and he's in the Quran. I guess apparently I haven't read the Quran, so that's just like a footnote for further discussion because we were wondering
Yeah,
about the Ishmaelites.
because we're taught that that's supposed to be a holy place, but then at the same time, when you learn more about this Luciferian stuff, they have a fetish for a black cube, and you got to ask
Yeah,
yourself.
but I'm not so quick to judge. I'm not going to say that the Mohammedans are Satanists. I don't think that they are.
No, I'm
I
not.
think that they serve the same God. But
As
that
far as
leads
a
me to
holy
my
place, I know. Oh damn! We were just talking about this a couple of weeks ago.
Hey, real quick, Yoda, I sent you 3 screen caps. The first 2 are the same one because they look like they're broken images and pilled for some reason.
Okay.
Sometimes it does that. Maybe give it a few days and see if you can look at them or something.
Oh,
I don't
you know
know
what?
why it does that, but
That reminds me. Right before we went live, um, I'm bad about checking the foxhole for messages, or at least on my phone. But when I go to the laptop, I see it automatically. And there's a person here in Phoenix that was asking if I wanted to do like coffee or something, and that message was sent like 5 days ago. And I sent them a message saying, "Well, are you still here?" Basically, like, yeah, I'm down to meet up. Um, so whoever that person was, if you're in the chat somewhere, message me back. I'm always down to meet somebody from the Foxhole fam. That'd be interesting.
all right, well, at your convenience, just keep an eye out for those images. And next time we talk, if they still look broken, I can try to send them again. I don't
No,
know what
I'll
the
check
deal
when I
is.
go inside with the laptop because I still got to figure out how to close Fox. It got froze for some reason.
Okay.
So no, I'll check that when I go inside right now.
I have 3 quick thoughts. Black Yoda, we'll find a way to make your schedule work. Once you get it settled in, somebody will figure out something. I've got a kind of an earlier show I do on Fridays, but some channel somewhere, maybe you could start, but we'll figure something out.
Yeah, I know. Where there's a will, there's a way.
Yep. As far as the Canaanites, Pythagi kind of briefly touched on this. Everything gets reset with Noah, and I hold, at least on Wednesday nights, actually personally I hold this 99%, but on Wednesday nights I'm going to operate from, at least during the reading, that there's Shem, Ham, and Japheth, and everybody comes from them. But it entered my mind, and I don't know how to disprove this, could one of Shem, Ham, or Japheth's wives been pregnant with, let's say, a Cain descendant? So maybe some Cain blood got in on that boat somehow.
Or what if that wife
okay,
was?
I think I know where you're going.
What if that wife was from that bloodline?
Yeah, or the wife
Ooh.
could even just straight up be from that bloodline. Yeah, that's even a better point. So yeah, Pythagoras, I'm just saying maybe there can be some of that city of Cain, city of Enoch that he built, that undesirable land. Maybe there can be some of that bloodline in the boat.
That would make a lot of sense. That would make a lot of sense.
I saw that article. It was Sarah? I mentioned it last week. Seraphim or Serapium.com.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there was an article about how were there giants in the days afterward? Does that mean someone was carrying that bloodline on the ark? That's one hypothesis, and it's a pretty good one. I like it. So let's definitely take it up. My final point was going to be that,
Or what if
Ross,
Chunk?
you said,
What if Chunk Yogurt knocked up one of the animals before it got on the ark?
What if who?
Chunk Yogurt.
You know,
Let's let Pete Thaggy finish. That was a good joke, though.
I mean, there's many questions. There's many questions about the ark. There's many questions about the ark. Come on.
Yep.
I don't know. but so my last point was going to be in this line of like how slow we're going, and there's so much more to talk about when we get to it, even 5 chapters from now, even 10 chapters from now. Anka and I were doing a dig last night where we went into the next book, into the book of Exodus. And what you said earlier about how God seemed to really favor these Israelites above all, that's going to turn out to not be the case. There's some pretty damning, condemning words from the God Most High, and he actually wanted to wipe them out in Exodus. So we'll get to that.
Right. Excellent point. Excellent point.
When
And
they were having golden, why can I think of the word? Golden statues that they were idolizing versus, respecting all kinds of other things. They were still doing a lot of things that was pissing God off instead of respecting the Most High.
Right.
If my son was pissing me off, like I wouldn't want to talk to him either.
Right.
I wouldn't wipe him out. Might punch him in his throat.
Throat punch. That'll be a great ender point, I think.
end on a throat punch.
Yep.
Gotta love that.
All right, cool.
Oh wait,
We'll
I got
do-
a joke. I got a really good joke that
Tell us.
I saw yesterday. It's short. So, who is the strongest man in world history? Someone who could kick Chuck Norris's ass really easily.
Samson.
Is this a Jesus thing?
A what?
Is this
Who?
a Jesus thing?
No.
Who?
Jim Jones. Because he could kill 800 people with one punch.
Wow.
Oh, okay.
Wow,
pretty
that's
good.
dark. That is so dark.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Oh, that is dark.
Very nice.
That is dark. You need Jesus, bro.
It's a great closer.
Oh, that is dark. That
And,
is dark. I need to pray. I feel dirty now.
Sorry.
I love it. Next week, Tower of Babel or Vavel, I think. I've got to look up the pronunciation.
All right, people. Next week.
Right on. Thanks, everyone.
All right.
Shalom.
Good night,
Peace,
guys.
everyone.
Good night.
Shalom. Peace be with you.
Let us release the scratch. What a privilege to have that panel. Can you all even believe that I was privileged to have that panel? Let's see. Let's get this transitional music going. All right. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? We're going to go to the scratching. We're going to release it. Yeah, I see that Revenge Odoishi may be reacting Shalom, Anka Vanka, to the joke. Hey, I gotta hand it to him. That was a good one. The scratching is released in 2 days. Well, technically 1.5, but Friday, 5:30 Central. Angular will join us for a Trump through the news. Kind of a slow week so far, but we got a few articles to talk about. Sunday. I'm down for something. I'll either do Funklosophy or if there's a Duppy Files. Should have asked Duppy while he was on. Somebody scratch the scratch-offs. I'm just going to scratch it to show you it can be done. And then we'll be back here next week for the Tower of Babel. While I'm breaking down the microphone and all that, I'll probably pop over to the Sloan TV chat just to say hi. And with that, I'd like to thank our mod, Ankavanka, keeping it cozy. I'm out of stuff to say. Again, what a panel. Thank you, panelists. I am floored by how awesome of a time you all helped me out. All right, bye-bye. Thank you for spending time with us. We're joined on Fridays by co-host Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore. Be sure to catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, or Facebook. Current shows include The Bread Pill Weekly. You've been red pilled, now be the red pill. You're out of the oven and ready for delivery on our weekly alternative news roundup and call-in show on Foxhole, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook every Friday at 5:30 p.m. Central, co-hosted by G. Ross and Angular. Current shows include Epistemology for Fun and Profit, where woo meets goo. You're in the woo, and the woo is in you. A philosophical call-in show with occasional guest interviews, diving into the oldest questions. Most episodes are exclusively on the foxhole.app, Sunday at 11:30 p.m. Central. Current shows include 9dNation, the nation with no denomination. Declare to the custom agents any edible plants or miscellaneous worldviews. We take a look back at how we got here, eventually leading into a regular Wednesday night Bible study at 11 p.m. Central. Catch us on the foxhole.app, DLive, YouTube, and Facebook. Our Friday co-host is Angular. This has been G. Ross, and you are the underscore.
Players, they fell right into that trap. The same thing with what is happening with the pandemic. They thought this was the perfect opportunity to launch their pandemic way ahead of schedule just to get Trump out of office. He's using this against them. Think about the border. This was another trap that was set. Remember, he secured the border. He built the wall. People said, oh, why do you need a wall? Now people are saying, whoa, I think we need a wall. But he put certain things into place like Title 42 during the pandemic. Now, the Biden administration, the puppet masters, they have a choice. They can get rid of Title 42, but they have to also say then the pandemic is gone. Then they lose that control. Or they could say the pandemic is still here, but the Title 42, that stays in place. Remember, their plan is to bring as many illegals into this country as possible. He trapped them in all of this, and people are seeing it. He trapped them in the economy. The economy's falling apart. He made it incredible. Now it's turning on them. Everything that has happened has been a trap. Think about Afghanistan. Trump went out there. He made a peace deal with the Taliban.